Modern China is heir to an old and fabled history. 300 years before the birth of Christ, 3 million Chinese labored for 20 years to build the Great Wall. In the Middle Ages, Marco Polo served in the court of Kublai Khan and returned to Italy with his legendary tales of the Asiatic kingdom. Then it began, the decline and fall of imperial China, an isolated nation clinging stubbornly to ancient ways. Backward, defenseless, impotent, China lost territory equal in area almost to all of Europe. England took Hong Kong, Burma, Sikkim, and slices of Tibet and southwest China. Russia seized parts of Manchuria, Mongolia, and Xinjiang. France grabbed all of Indochina. And Japan annexed Korea, Formosa, and the Ryukyu and Pescadores Islands. Entering the 20th century, China is a restless nation seeking new leadership. And in 1911, Dr. Sun Yat-sen spearheads a people's revolution that overthrows the country's autocratic, age-old system of emperors and kings. Dr. Sun is hailed as the George Washington of China. But his attempts to establish a democratic republic are hampered by the jealous actions of feuding warlords. In 1925, Sun Yat-sen dies. Chiang Kai-shek comes to power and sets out to complete the unification of the Chinese Republic. He strengthens his army and, at first, works with the communists in his country. Mao Zedong leads the communist forces. A man of the soil, he believes the ultimate power in China belongs to the peasants. After 2 years, Chiang turns on Mao and his supporters. Finally, in 1934, Mao orders his Long March in search of sanctuary in remote Shenxi province. These remarkable films document the tortuous 6,000-mile journey, comparable in distance to marching from England to India. Stretching out for 50 miles, 185,000 persons begin the march. 145,000 die along the way. At journey's end, Mao is on hand to salute the survivors. There are only a relatively few thousand communists in the caves of Yan'an. But Mao Zedong's influence will grow and multiply, reach out and conquer. Shanghai, 1937. The Japanese strike against China. Enemy troops swarm across the countryside and through the cities as China stands and fights and suffers alone. Then, during World War II, at a historic conference in Cairo, powerful allies come to the aid of Chiang Kai-shek. President Franklin Roosevelt joins with Prime Minister Winston Churchill in supporting Chiang. An old enemy, Mao Zedong, also becomes a new ally as the communists are given representation in a wartime coalition government. As the fighting goes on, Mao is pictured in communist propaganda as a hero of the resistance movement. Marching into battle, Mao's soldiers carry communist slogans and banners on their backs. When the war ends and the Japanese surrender, Mao Zedong's guerrilla forces have grown from 40,000 to 1 million men. In San Francisco, at ceremonies marking the signing of the United Nations Charter, the head of the Chinese delegation, V.K. Wellington Koo, is given the honor of speaking first.
China, who was the first nation to be attacked by these forces in the present conflict, feels especially glad today that the United Nations here in San Francisco, on the hospitable soil of the United States, have written a constitution for the new edifice of world peace.
As the first victim of Axis aggression, China now becomes the first country to sign the United Nations Charter. But post-war China is a nation exhausted by battle. Famine and hunger are widespread. People eat grass. Despair and misery are deeply etched on the land and the people. This is the time that Mao Zedong launches his War of National Liberation. The communist forces have been strengthened by the acquisition of captured Japanese ammunition and weapons, stockpiled in Manchuria and seized with Russian assistance. In an attempt to end the Civil War, President Truman sends General Marshall to China to meet with leaders of the nationalist and communist forces. After discussions that include Mao's trusted lieutenant, Zhou Enlai, a conditional agreement is reached calling for a coalition government and an end to the bloodshed. The compromise settlement is soon renounced, and the communist armies resume their conquest of the Chinese mainland. One by one, nationalist cities and strongholds fall before Mao's advancing troops. The communists accomplish in 4 years what the Japanese could not do in 8. The bamboo curtain drops over 1/4 of the world's population, as on October 1st, 1949, Mao Zedong proclaims the birth of the People's Republic of China. Chiang Kai-shek flees to the island of Formosa, renamed Taiwan, and continues to insist that his government is the only true representative of the Chinese people. Chiang signs a mutual defense treaty with the United States and promises one day to liberate the mainland. Red China and the United Nations come into conflict when communist troops intervene in the Korean War. As the bitter, bloody fighting goes on, the UN General Assembly votes to condemn the People's Republic of China as an aggressor against South Korea and the United Nations. President Truman, in addition to sending American troops into Korea, also orders the 7th Fleet to patrol and neutralize the waters between Taiwan and mainland China. When President Eisenhower takes office, he orders an end to the naval blockade.
In June 1950, following the aggressive attack on the Republic of Korea, the United States 7th Fleet was instructed both to prevent attack upon Formosa and also to ensure that Formosa should not be used as a base of operations against the Chinese Communist mainland. This has meant, in effect, that the United States Navy was required to serve as a defensive arm of Communist China. This permitted those communists with greater impunity to kill our soldiers and those of our United Nations allies in Korea. I am therefore issuing instructions that the 7th Fleet no longer be employed to shield Communist China. This order implies no aggressive intent on our part, but we certainly have no obligation to protect a nation fighting us in Korea.
From his island fortress, Chiang Kai-shek is free to attack the mainland. But the nationalist leader is content to remain on the alert, and with American aid to build Taiwan into one of the most economically prosperous areas in the Far East. In communist China, Mao Zedong undertakes a great leap forward. And despite serious setbacks and shortcomings, the People's Republic moves ahead industrially. There is a determined effort to tap the rich mineral resources that have gone unclaimed for centuries. The outside world knows or hears little of the country's progress, as few visitors are allowed into or out of communist China. But over the years, cracks are opened in the bamboo curtain, and travelers tell of an educational thrust designed to accelerate the development of the People's Republic. The emphasis on science pays off when communist China becomes the world's 5th atomic power. Despite reports from time to time of internal unrest, Mao continues to rule the mainland with Zhou Enlai at his side. In the United Nations, sentiment grows for the admission of communist China. But in the 1950s and 60s, the United States steadfastly opposes any such move. As the years pass, the vote grows closer. And in 1971, there is a significant change in American policy as President Nixon announces plans for a visit to mainland China. The president indicates U.S. support for admitting Red China, while insisting that nationalist China keep its General Assembly seat. Before the crucial vote in the United Nations, American Ambassador George Bush makes an impassioned plea for the two-China policy.
The proposal to expel the Republic of China is, as I said at the outset of the statement, the heart of the matter before us. And if it were to be adopted, it would be the first expulsion of a member by any procedure, legal or illegal, ever carried out in the history of the United Nations. Such a development would inevitably raise new and grave questions in many countries as to whether the United Nations had become kind of a cockpit for dissension rather than an instrument for peace.
No.
But when the roll is called, the delegates reject the American proposal. After the results are official, the representative of nationalist China makes a fateful announcement.
We shall continue to struggle with the like-minded governments for the realization of the ideals upon which the United Nations was founded, but which the General Assembly has now betrayed. We are confident that the cause for which we have been fighting for more than a quarter of a century will in the end prevail. I shall issue another public statement later in the evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
USSR. Yes. United Kingdom.
Yes.
Yes. United.
All that remains is for the final vote on formally seating the communists and expelling the nationalists.
No. Uruguay, no.
When the roll call is completed and the tally board flashes the results, there is loud applause and spontaneous celebrations among the supporters of the People's Republic.
The result of the voting is as follows. In favor, 76. Wait a moment. The result of the voting is as follows. In favor, 76. Opposed, 35. Abstention, 17. The draft resolution adopted.
The government of Chiang Kai-shek, the first to sign the United Nations Charter in 1945, becomes the first government ever to be expelled from the World Organization. For Chiang Kai-shek, Mao Zedong, the United States, and the United Nations, an era is ended. A new journey is begun.